Hey guys, how you doing? It's Jermaine here from Avoiding Broke. I hope you're keeping really well. And I'm really excited to be here today doing this session on how to prepare a great CV. We've had some questions flowing in recently, both from listeners of the podcast as well as from our YouTube channel viewers, about what goes into a CV. How do you really structure it? How have CVs kind of changed over the last few years? So what I want to make sure we do is cover those questions for you, help you get a better sense for how you can get yourself presented on paper. And if you stick with us to the end, we're going to make sure that there is a really great opportunity for the people who are listening and watching. So if that sounds good to you and you're ready to dive in, let's go. A CV is traditionally something that we need to obtain any kind of job. We put it forward, it reflects, in essence, who we are on paper. And it's become more and more critical, particularly in recent times, where we've obviously seen some people facing redundancy, people looking for new employment. We've moved into this whole new world now where a lot of employment is being done over camera, over video, as opposed to face-to-face. And so there's a natural question for all of us, which is how do we, on paper, communicate just how awesome we really are? Now, I've been in a position where I've written a lot of CVs, seen a lot of CVs as well on the other side of the desk. You know, one thing that we used to see, there used to be some standard format where CVs would kind of be 2 or 3 pages. They were quite word, text heavy. And really, you just tried to cram in as much as you could to just give a sense of who you are, what you've done, and make yourself sound fantastic. We've moved into this new world now where you've got video CVs. There's a thought that people are looking at your Instagram profiles, your public profiles, your Facebook profiles, your LinkedIn profiles, and those elements are contributing as much to hiring decisions as your CV can do. So what that has meant for me is that the whole nature of what a good CV looks like has changed, and the skills that we need to demonstrate on our CVs needs to be a little bit more refined in order to reflect that. For me, the first thing that we always want to include, number one, is our profile. Our profile is like a summary of what we've done, who we are, the position that we have, and the value statement that we would want to present to a prospective organisation. It's usually no more than a few sentences, and it really is supposed to be like a snapshot of who you are as an individual. What you then typically find is your work experience. So one of the best ways to present your work experience and to think about it is, so your work experience will show the different roles and positions of responsibility that you may have had, and it will include a summary of, again, the value that you've brought within those positions. Either your value, your responsibilities, the kind of areas of focus that you had. And normally what I would suggest, and what I absolutely make sure I do with my own CV, is to try and restrict those statements that I make against each form of employment to no more than about 4 or 5 key bullet points, which are very active. So talking about things that I've delivered, talking about what I was responsible for, talking about what I've managed. Those kind of words give a sense of purpose, a sense of drive, and a very clear sense of you doing something, as opposed to just being part of teams where things have been done. So it really tries to focus in on your individual responsibilities, and it's something that you could get asked questions about. Skill sections are really a matter of preference. So some skill sections may highlight particular pieces of software that you're well skilled at using. They may highlight languages that you have and that you can call upon. They may highlight role-specific skills that you think you'd like to draw out. Really up to you whether you include the section and how you present it. And some of the decision may depend on how experienced you actually are and whether those skills are developed. If it's something that you think is valuable, then of course include it. Education then makes up another component on the CV. Within education, you'd normally operate in reverse chronological order, and this is the same for your work experience. and highlight the key achievements that you have and typically the grades that you've achieved. I know some people's view on grades differ. Personally, I suggest it's a good thing to include on your CV. Many employers will ask you for proofs of education anyway, and so they will have all of that information available to them. And I think if you're confident enough to go for a role, you should absolutely be confident enough to put your honest grades on that piece of paper. No problem there. Contact info and then references are information that, again, are standardly held at the bottom of CVs. With your contact information nowadays, actually having some kind of public profile that you may have, so for example LinkedIn, or if you actually have a blog or some kind of external website, absolutely acceptable to put that onto your CV. And then if you've got references, normally I've seen two different variations. References spelt out in full, or a statement saying references available on demand. I think for a graduate job where references are highly likely to be taken, having your references spelt out in full is absolutely fine. As you become more experienced, references being made available on request is a fine thing to include on your CV. So those, for me, folks, are the key sections that any good CV should include. I think we've very much moved away from a world where we've got, say, 2 pages for a CV. The key information that we've just gone through and I'll summarise shortly should fall onto 1 page and ideally include your personal profile at the top, followed by your work experience, followed by your education or skills in an order that you can decide, followed by your contact information and then your references. As you go through and put that information and structure it, you'll have 5 or 6 different areas that you can call upon to highlight the different skills and attributes that you bring. And if you can manage to structure all of that into a very clear, concise way on a single page with just key, punchy bullet points and key information, you will set yourself up, I think, really, really well. Because you'll have something that when you go into an interview, your interviewer can easily read through, digest, and then ask you questions on. And as you're preparing for your interview, you yourself can easily run through the different things that you've achieved without risk of tripping yourself up. So just to quickly come on to some of the questions that we were asked. So one was, what length should a CV ideally be? So we've covered, I think in the past we used to see 2 or 3 pages. Now I would be far more expecting to see a CV on 1 page, 2 maximum. Another question was, should you include grades on your CV? Absolutely. When you go for any role, if there's a grade requirement, you'll know that up front. And if you have got the requisite grades, then there should be no problem having them included on your CV. Ultimately, you should be proud of everything that you've achieved, and so you should go for it, put your grades on, and if in the circumstance that you have not achieved grades that you feel you are capable of, have an honest conversation about it. That shouldn't be anything that you're running from. You should be very happy to have that conversation up front. The last question that we'll look at is, how can you strengthen your CV quickly? So without seeing your CV, it's quite a tricky to answer. Some of the questions that I would ask up front, have you managed to keep your CV short and succinct, i.e. on a page, 2 maximum? Have you managed to structure your CV in a very clear, logical way? Are the bullet points, are the statements that you've got on your CV well structured, well written, in very clean, simple language, and organised into just a few very succinct bullet points that highlight the key points you want to make? I would say as you go through your CV, if you can answer yes to all of those questions, you're hopefully in a really good position. And if you want to know to any of them, then go back through this video and use the tips here to help you make some adjustments. But what we would like to offer, guys, and I completely appreciate just how important it is when you are putting your CV together and just how much is riding on the line. For anybody who is watching this particular video on YouTube, for the first 10 people to subscribe and leave a comment on this channel, we'll be happy to do a short CV review for you. Go through the CV, have a look at how you've structured it, the kind of content that you've got, and just try and give some helpful feedback about potential ways to improve it. So if that offer sounds of interest to you, please click the subscribe button, click the like button, leave a comment, and we'll get back to the successful subscribers. Okay guys, well look, thanks very much for being here with me tonight. It's been a really awesome session that I've really enjoyed doing. We're going to be doing a lot more of these career advice type sessions, so if that's something that could be valuable to you, then please hit the subscribe button, please click the like button, and if you've got any particular questions you want us to cover, just write them in the comments and we'll be happy to pick them up. Alright guys, take care, good luck, bye bye.